TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. 10 Western and Western-oriented nations recognize a state of Palestine. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vows to retaliate against those countries which recognized a Palestinian state. Jerusalem's UN envoy asserts that the war will persist in Gaza until all hostages are returned and Hamas succumbs. 10 countries, to include the United Kingdom, France, Canada, Australia, Portugal, Belgium, Luxembourg, Malta, Andorra, and Monaco, have recognized a Palestinian state, effectively breaking away from their collective historic position of achieving a solution to the Israel-Palestinian conflict by means of a diplomatic discourse.
So today, to revive the hope of peace and a two-state solution, I state clearly, as Prime Minister of this great country, that the United Kingdom formally recognizes the state of Palestine. We recognized the state of Israel more than 75 years ago as a homeland for the Jewish people. Today, we join over 150 countries who recognize a Palestinian state also. A pledge to the Palestinian and Israeli people that there can be a better future.
The recognition of Palestinian statehood by Britain comes at a time when a majority of Palestinians continue to contend that Hamas's decision to launch the massacres of October 7th against the southern communities of Israel was correct, to include 59% of the residents of the so-called West Bank. Moreover, a majority of Palestinians also believe that Hamas will emerge victorious in its war against Israel, to include 56% of residents of the West Bank. When asked in a May poll by the Palestinian Center for Policy and Survey Research that was conducted in cooperation and sponsored by the Netherlands Representative Office in Ramallah, which Palestinian faction they would support in a future legislative election, 43% of respondents claim they would support Hamas, as opposed to the Western-backed Fatah faction, which secured merely 28%. Another important data point relates to Palestinian public opinion with regard to their preferable path forward. 48% of Palestinian residents of the so-called West Bank have voiced support for a, quote, armed struggle against Israel. And while hard evidence specifies that Hamas would likely take over the West Bank districts of Judea, Samaria, and the Jordan Valley if the Palestinian Authority would ultimately reinstate elections, the nations which recognized Palestinian statehood have unanimously voiced their objections to Hamas, as if their objection carries any weight in the Palestinian street.
Let's be frank. Hamas is a brutal terror organization. Our call for a genuine two-state solution is the exact opposite of their hateful vision. So we are clear, this solution is not a reward for Hamas, because it means Hamas can have no future, no role in government, no role in security.
According to a survey by JL Partners, it was reported on by British newspaper The Telegraph, a staggering 9 out of 10 Britons did not support Prime Minister Keir Starmer's decision to recognize a Palestinian state.
I think it's rewarding the terrorists myself. It's rewarding Hamas. I'm very sympathetic to the plight of the Palestinian people, but I don't think this is the way forward. I think it emboldens them and will only lead to further trouble on the world stage.
They're sort of abandoning Israel, really, and with the Hamas, you're almost sort of supporting them. And I don't think that's a good move, you know. That's my own personal view. I think it's dangerous as well, really going to stir up more trouble than it probably means well, but I don't think it's a good move myself.
French President Emmanuel Macron, during a conference at the UN General Assembly, declared his country's recognition of the Palestinian state, while further voicing similar allegations as their Canadian counterparts against the State of Israel.
Since last July, the acceleration of events is terrible. And based on where we are, we fear that the Abraham Accords or the Camp David Accords could be put into question through the actions of Israel, and that peace could become impossible for a long time in the Middle East. And so we carry a heavy responsibility. We must do everything within our power to preserve the very possibility of a two-state solution, Israel and Palestine living side by side in peace and security.
In response to the consecutive recognitions by Western nations of Palestinian statehood, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu voiced outrage, further emphasizing an expected retaliatory response by Israel.
I have a clear message to those leaders who recognize a Palestinian state after the terrible massacre of October 7th. You are giving a huge reward to terrorism. And I have another message for you. It will not happen. There will be no Palestinian state west of the Jordan. For years, I have prevented the establishment of this terrorist state in the face of enormous pressure both from home and abroad. We did it with determination, and we did it with political wisdom. Indeed, we doubled Jewish settlement in Judea and Samaria, and we will continue on this path. The response to the latest attempt to impose a terrorist state on us in the heart of our country will be given after my return from the United States. We will wait.
Israel's ambassador to France, Yosh Zalka, who previously served as the Israeli Foreign Ministry's Deputy Director General for Strategy, revealed that Jerusalem's retaliatory decision will be made after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump later this week.
There are demands that have been made, for instance, by certain parties in the Israeli government about annexation of the West Bank as a result of that decision that's been led by France and taken by France and other countries. To the best of my understanding, the Prime Minister of Israel is going to speak to the President of the United States about that, and he will make his decision about what will be our reaction to the steps that have been taken by France and others following that discussion they will have with President Trump. And there might be also some kind of a bilateral decisions around France and the French consulate in Jerusalem and other issues that has been put on the table by different actors in our government. I do not know what will be the decision at the end of the day. That decision is going to be taken by the Prime Minister and his government.
Ambassador Zalka continued by acknowledging that President Macron's move has damaged the relations between Paris and Jerusalem, and that France has become a destabilizing agent in the Middle East.
The President's announcement of last night, I think when it comes to the history of diplomacy in the Middle East, is one of the biggest wastes of a significant tool that could have helped promoting peace. And instead of that, is creating unrest. France is unfortunately becoming a destabilizing agent in the Middle East because of I don't know what is behind it, but the need for them to make statements that are, more show than anything else.
Meanwhile, at the United Nations headquarters in New York, Israeli ambassador to the world body, Dani Danon, emphasized that Israel will continue to prosecute the war until all of the hostages are returned from Hamas captivity in Gaza and Hamas is effectively removed from power.
This is a theater because we all know that it's detached from reality. While Macron and his colleagues will celebrate 48 hostages who will stay in captivity in Gaza, we know that this conference it came to life from domestic interests. It is not diplomacy. When Hamas is praising this conference and calling it the fruit of October 7th, we know it's a problem. If a terrorist organization is supporting what's happening here, it's shameful. Many leaders today will speak about the future when Hamas will not be part of Gaza, but I will ask them, who is going to do that? Who is going to actually make sure that Hamas is not part of Gaza? The responsibility is on our shoulders. Israel is committed to continue this war until we bring back all the hostages and until Hamas is out of the game completely.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. Please continue to pray for the hostages, for the troops also now operating in the Gaza Strip and elsewhere, and for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, if you're blessed by our productions, which are exclusively donation-based, please consider supporting our ongoing operations. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you a Shavua Tov ve'Shana Mevorachat, and God willing, until our next update, from here in Jerusalem, Shalom.